Hello and welcome to What's New Today. This is a kids and family podcast about current events shaping our world. I'm Sangeeta, your host from India. Every Monday and Friday, I'm joined by one curious child from anywhere in the world as a guest on this podcast show. And together, the child and I, we explore a new story. With me today, co-hosting this show is...
I am Keshav. I am from Bangalore in India.
How old are you, Keshav?
8 years old.
Wow, lovely. Okay, so Keshav, if you'd like all our listeners to know two things about you, what would you like to tell them?
I love to play many sports and I like school.
You like school. You're definitely unusual. So what subject do you like?
Maths.
Oh my God, you're truly unusual. Okay. What is the name of your school?
Delhi Public School.
I see. Okay, wonderful. All right. In today's episode, Keshav, you and I are going to be discussing one new story about space. Do you like space?
Yes.
What do you know about space?
I know all the planet names and I know the surroundings of it, like asteroids and comets. I know about the black hole and the sun, and I know about the galaxies and our solar system.
Wow, you must like science also then in school, no? Not just maths.
Yes. Yes.
All right. In today's episode, the story we're going to discuss is about how there's this giant international space station that's out there in space.
NASA.
Oh no, NASA is not an international space station. The NASA is a group of people who sit in the United States and they build rockets that go out into space. The International Space Station is like a huge house that has been built and it is in space and it is, going round and round around the earth. It's like
satellites.
Yeah, it's very much like a satellite. Before we jump into today's news story, we'll play a small game. I will say a few sentences and I'd like you to tell me if I'm correct or if I'm joking. Okay, we'll start.
Okay.
The first thing, if Keshav were to go into space, he can breathe very easily there. Am I correct or am I joking?
You're joking. As in space, there is no air or oxygen. When astronauts go, they wear a suit which has tubes that helps them breathe.
Yes, you're right. I am joking. If Keshav went into space without an astronaut suit, you wouldn't be able to breathe. Okay, here's my second question. If you went to the moon and if you kicked a football, it would keep on traveling and never fall down. Am I correct or am I joking?
You're correct. There's very less gravity on space which keeps the ball up.
Well, that's kind of correct and joking because on moon, the gravity is less, but it's not zero. So at some point, the football will eventually come down onto the moon's surface. So Keshav, if you did kick a football on moon, it would eventually fall down on the ground. It will not float away into space. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. And so can we get started with today's topic?
Okay.
So the International Space Station, like I said, it's like this big, huge house that's like a satellite that's up there in space. It's as big as a football field. Our scientists don't know. Even to this day, we don't know how to build a giant house the size of a football field, put it inside a rocket and then send it up there. How do you think the International Space Station might have been built? I'll give you a clue. They separated this big, huge house into many parts. What do you think they would have done?
I think they will put each part on a separate rocket and then send each rocket separately.
Perfect. So it took them more than 10 years. So for instance, they took the part of the kitchen I'm kidding. And I don't think they put a kitchen and a living room and a bedroom separately, but think of it like that. Different pieces were put on different rockets, and then each rocket went up and put each part. So it took more than 10 years for people to build a giant house, which is like a huge laboratory in space. What do you think people might want to do in a giant house in space?
Have fun.
Have fun? Okay, doing what?
Flying in the air.
Flying in the air. Okay, this is like a house which is closed.
No, there will be no gravity, so you can just fly.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Inside the International Space Station, the gravity will still be flow. It'll be a lot of fun flying around. What game would you like to play if you stayed inside the ISS?
Headball. It'll be fun because if you hit the ball on your head, it goes to him, and he hits the ball on your head, it goes to you. It will be kind of fun.
I'm sure it is a lot of fun. You know what? Some of these people who sit in the International Space Station, they can access our comments on Twitter. You know, we can tweet it out to them saying, Keshav, an 8-year-old from Bangalore, has recommended adding headball to your list of entertainment games on the ISS. Or most of your friends who live near your house, if most of them would like to play football, does it make sense to build one football ground for each house, or would all houses come together and build one common football ground?
I think all the houses will come together and build a big common one, because it will be easier for more people to build the football pitch.
Very true. And it will also cost lesser money, right? So for the same reason that you just explained, even when the International Space Station had to be built, 5 space agencies came together to build one International Space Station. The United States, Russia, Canada, Japan, and Europe.
Yeah. And United States and Canada are really close. So they can meet each other easily.
When they want to discuss how to play headball in space.
Yes.
Okay, that's true. One of the reasons the International Space Station was built was to help our astronauts figure out how our body behaves in very low gravity. And they also wanted to figure out what kind of plants grow in very low gravity. Is there any plant that we can grow in these microgravity contexts that we can use for curing people of some diseases? And that's why this wonderful laboratory in the International Space Station has been created. Now the new story.
What is laboratory?
What's a laboratory? Laboratory is a place where you do experiments. Have you done any experiment at home?
I've done an experiment where I did a terrarium set.
Oh, you created a terrarium. Wonderful.
Yeah. So I first added something looks like sugar, and then I added mud, and then I added this black things, these black kind of small balls, and then I put the plants in. I water it every single week, 20 ml.
Wow. And what happened to your terrarium? Did the plant grow?
Yeah, now it died.
Oh, okay. Even my terrarium is almost dead. I tried growing one and mine also died. I think I watered it excessively. Why do you think the plant in your terrarium died?
because it didn't have sunlight and I didn't give him enough water.
Oh, okay. So just like the experiment that you have tried with, growing your own terrarium in the International Space Station, the astronauts who go there or the scientists who go there, they're also trying to grow tiny little plants and many other such experiments that they are trying. Eventually, that will help us maybe cure diseases or feed ourselves with some interesting food. But there's also one more thing that they want to try, which is if we wanted to visit Mars, right? Then if we had to go all the way and, send a rocket or a space shuttle all the way to Mars, it might be a little easier.
I heard that Elon Musk is trying to get a spaceship from Earth to Mars.
Wow, you know that Elon Musk wants to send a spaceship from Earth to Mars. Yes. What else do you know about Elon Musk?
He's the richest person in the world.
You live in Bengaluru. Let's say you're traveling from Bengaluru and you're going on a long drive all the way to Jammu and Kashmir. Is it easy to sit in a car and drive all the way to Jammu and Kashmir over, say, 2 to 3 days? Or would you like to break somewhere for a small stopover and then restart?
I would I'll stop at some place and get some water and food, mostly potato chips. I'll get car sick if I don't do that.
For many space agencies also, when they want to send a space shuttle all the way out to Mars or maybe like Jupiter, like you said, that you might want to visit, these space agencies are also doing small experiments to understand if they can stop over at the International Space Station, which is already in space, take a small break, maybe eat some potato chips, and from there on, the astronauts will go to Mars. Okay, so now today's news story is that Russia, which is one of the 5 countries, has now said that they no longer want to be a part of this group, which will be maintaining the International Space Station.
But then won't cosmonauts go?
Won't cosmonauts from Russia go? So Russia says, we'll build our own space station. We don't want to be a part of your space station.
It'll take a lot of money and effort.
Yeah. Do you know the difference between a cosmonaut and an astronaut?
Cosmonauts are Russian astronauts.
Wow. Yeah, that's true. And you're very right. It will take a lot of time, money, and effort if Russia wants to set up its own space station. So who knows? Maybe by the time Keshav grows up, we might have more than one International Space Station. We might have the ISS that is there currently. We might have a new one by Russia. And now China is also talking about another space station. Can we now move on to the interesting part of our podcast episodes?
Yes. Quiz time. Let's see how well you listened.
Question 1. Name any 2 countries whose space agencies have helped create the International Space Station.
Canada and America.
Question 2. Is the moon's gravity higher or is the Earth's gravity higher?
The moon's gravity is way lower and the Earth's gravity is higher.
Question 3. Who is a cosmonaut?
A cosmonaut is a Russian astronaut.
That brings us to the end of this episode. If you enjoyed listening to this, please leave us a rating and a review. That helps other listeners discover our podcast channel with great ease. And especially if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please definitely click the follow, subscribe button and do leave us a rating and a review. If you're a curious child, just like Keshav, to join me today in co-hosting this episode, I'd love to hear from you. And please do write to me at hello@wsnt.in.
If you enjoy trivia about space, you should listen to our podcasts on the James Webb Telescope. In this, a 10-year-old child discusses how this telescope looks far into space, even looking at some of the stars that were formed when the universe first came into existence. Link to this podcast is given below in the description.
See you soon on Friday.
Bye. Thanks for listening.